From Teddy Ruxpin to the Cabbage Patch Kids, the 80s was a bonkers time for toys. Hey there, welcome back to Life Noggin. Let's jump right into those 80s toys. So first is Teddy Ruxpin. He was a teddy bear that could talk. But here's the kicker. He didn't just repeat programmed phrases. He actually responded to whatever you said to him. He listened and then talked back. The way he worked was pretty neat. He had cassettes that fit into a slot on his back, and the tape would spin inside of him and move a motor that would change the position of his jaw. How crazy is that? He was released in 1983 and was a huge success, selling more than 7 million of the bears worldwide. There were several versions of Teddy Ruxpin, including an Elvis version and a Robin Hood version. But my favorite has to be the 1985 edition where he could move his lips along to music. And if you had this guy singing Let It Go from Frozen, you would have been a very happy camper. Next up is the Cabbage Patch Kid. These dolls were all the rage and every kid wanted one. The only problem was they were extremely difficult to find. They were so sought after that stores would have lines of parents waiting to get their hands on one. They were released in 1978, but their popularity boomed in the 80s. At one point, President Ronald Reagan's daughter even asked for a Cabbage Patch doll for Christmas. As she didn't receive one, she started her own Cabbage Patch doll collectors club. If you managed to grab one of these dolls, though, you were set. The kids at school would be so jealous and you would be the coolest kid around. But now let's talk about something every kid loved playing with, whether they had it or not. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? This game had us all trying to figure out geography, but we weren't aware of it. This computer game introduced us to Carmen Sandiego, a red-haired thief who would steal famous landmarks and place them in other parts of the world. It was our job to travel around the world and ask clues to figure out where she hid the landmarks. What makes this game so great is that it made learning fun, and it's still used today in many schools to teach geography. Before Google Maps, this was the only way to learn geography without an atlas. But I think we can all agree that this game got us interested in geography, if only to catch Carmen. Now let's dive into some classic toys that you may have had. We're talking about Polly Pocket. Polly Pocket was a toy line launched in 1989, and it became a huge sensation among young girls. Each doll was sold in a compact case that also doubled as a playset. It was like having your own little world in your pocket wherever you went. There was everything from castles to cars to amusement parks, all in miniature. These dolls were so popular that they're still being produced today. But something tells me they're not quite as popular as they once were. Remember that scene in Mean Girls when Regina George finds out that Barbie Girl was playing at Janice and Damien's house and she screams, "She's a slut." Well, if you had Polly Pockets, you might have been called a slut because each set had its own secret love story, like you were playing out someone's entire life in your palm. Speaking of iconic toys, do you remember the Lego Ninjago movie? Well, if you do, you probably know about Lloyd Gar. But did you know that there was a Lloyd minifigure created to celebrate the release of the first Lego Ninjago movie? It was a special edition of Lego released only in select theaters. So if you saw the movie in one of those theaters, you could pick up this unique minifigure. There were 400,000 of them produced back in 2017, but seeing as how much Lego's grown in popularity since then, I would imagine that this minifig has gone up in value. Okay, so we all know the game Twister, but do you remember when they tried to make it cooler? I mean, Twister was already fun as it was, but Mattel thought that it needed a rock and roll vibe, so they released Rock'em Sock'em Robots Twister in 1991, instead of colored dots. The mat had pictures of robots and players would try to match them up. Unfortunately, it didn't take off like they hoped it would. I guess people either really liked the original Twister or they just did like mixing it with robots. Who knows? All we know is that it didn't last for long. Remember that song Don't You Want Me Baby by the Human League? Well, there was a doll that was based on the music video for the song. Her name was Gem, and the music video for the song was actually a commercial for the doll. That's right. When the doll was released in 1983, it was accompanied by a music video that showed a bunch of guys competing for the attention of a doll named Gem. I'm not sure why, but it makes sense in 80s logic. Anyway, the doll was considered very advanced at the time because she could sing and dance, plus she had flowing hair that changed colors. Fun fact, the doll was played by actress Gem and the holograms, which makes sense considering that the doll was meant to represent the character. Another doll we can't forget is the My Buddy doll. These dolls were marketed towards boys and they came dressed in a t-shirt and jeans. They were supposed to be the cool older brother type, which sounds nice until you realize that you'll probably get beat up if you brought this doll to school. My Buddy was sold in 1985 and the doll was designed to look like a young Ryan Gosling. It's uncanny. Okay, so maybe you didn't have any of these next dolls, but you probably saw them at your friend's house. Rainbow Bright dolls. They were originally released in 1983 and they were named after the 1984 animated series. Each doll represented a different color of the rainbow. There were dolls for red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And they even had a doll for white light. It was important to note that they weren't just colorful dolls. They also had a special talent associated with each one. Red had super strength, orange could see in the dark, yellow had telepathy, and so on. These dolls were very popular throughout the 80s and even had their own theme park ride at Canada's Wonderland in 1986. And finally, we have Pee Wee Herman's frying pan. Okay, so this toy was banned in most countries, but it was allowed in the US. But here's the thing, even though it was allowed in the US, it still posed an extreme hazard. Many children ended up getting their fingers caught in the pan, and it became known as the chop shop. One kid even lost part of his finger because of this pan. So needless to say, it was eventually banned in the US too. The reason why this toy was so dangerous is because of the design. The frying pan had spikes on it, and it was advertised to flip and flashed as it flipped. So basically, you're holding this spiked frying pan with electrical wires coming out of it and it flips. Not a good idea. Well, there you have it. Do you remember any of these toys? Which one was your favorite? Let us know in the comments section below. And if you want to learn more about another era of toys, click this video here. Otherwise, as always, stay happy, healthy, and nerdy.